The little studio that could, which was Orion, the comedy year, 1986, and I can still see outside my hallway at the office, agents pacing, directors waiting to pitch, me trying to decide which of these voices were going to be heard, who I was going to talk to Mike Medavoy about, because every decision we made felt personal. Every green light meant we were going with our instincts, putting our reputation on the line. What was it like to be head of production at that time under Medavoy? They usually asked about a few movies. One of them was The Three Amigos, the other was Back to School. But what I remember wasn't just hit movies. It was the pressure, the relationships, the feeling that we were building something fragile and extraordinary at the same time. In '86, Orion wasn't just making comedies. We were taking risks on filmmakers we believed in, knowing that if it was right, we could compete with anybody in Hollywood. And just a few months later, New York Magazine published a story called The Little Studio That Could. The headline wasn't about one hit. It was about the who trusted us and the trust we put in them. Let me take you inside. Here's one fantastic story. First, Back to School. Rodney Dangerfield had already become one of America's biggest comedy stars, but the movie wasn't just a collection of one-liners. It was directed by Alan Metter, and the screenplay was by Steve Campman, Will Porter, and Peter Torkvey. Harold Ramis helped out on rewrites, and it transformed this incredible character into an extraordinary character. Rodney Dangerfield, Sally Kellerman, Burt Young, and a very young Robert Downey Jr. Remember that. The unforgettable Sam Kinison, who
good teacher.
His classroom scene is a classic. It became one of Orion's most commercial successes. It did over $90 million domestically. Inside our business, everybody talked about Harold Ramis stepping in to strengthen the script and the character, which made it even a more believable movie. Then there was The Three Amigos. That wasn't just another comedy. It was a dream team directed by John Landis, written by Steve Martin and Lorne Michaels and Randy Newman, produced by Lorne Michaels and George Falsey Jr. Steve Martin, Chevy Chase, Martin Short, three of the comedy stars in America at the time. I'd known Landis for years. Our relationship went back to the incredible run he had at Universal during my father, Sid Sheinberg's era. John had already directed Animal House, The Blues Brothers, American Werewolf in London, Trading Places. He became one of America's hottest directors, and Hollywood trusted his instincts. I was also friendly with both Steve Martin and his longtime agent, John Gaines, who represented my mom, Lorraine Gary. And years later, I had the pleasure of doing A Simple Wish with Martin Short. That was one of the great things about the business. Relationships didn't just say, oh, one movie, wrap, you're done. They grew over decades. Three Amigos opened in December of '86 and earned over $40 million domestically. While it wasn't a blockbuster than many expected, it became more valuable. It became a cult classic for 40 years. Here's the lesson for today. Movies are built on relationships. Steve Martin, George Falsey, John Gaines, Harold Ramis, Dangerfield. Those relationships over the years were what turned the trust in the scripts into movies. That's why New York Magazine said that Orion was the little studio that could. It was because the talent walking through those doors, and that's the family business. Come see us at Beverly Hills Content Studios.